Hey.
What's up, everybody? Let me turn this. Okay. What's up, everybody? Just gonna do a short live this evening. I got Brian on here, and I think Greg's gonna try to join us in a little bit. Greg from Nature's Image Farm, and Brian here from Castle Hives. And these guys have become some good friends of mine. I hope you can tell. I've got this new mic right here. I tell y'all, I contacted Brian 3 or 4 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I've gone crazy trying to upgrade and do these lives. I've had so much fun with it, and so. But I wanted to take a few minutes tonight and just kind of try out this new equipment. It looks like it's working okay. Brian, does it sound okay to you?
It sounds great. Yeah,
Awesome.
It sounds great.
So anyway, what I want to do tonight is talk a little bit about the Hive Live Conference. I hope that Greg can come on here soon, kind of talk about what he's going to be doing there. We did discuss it a little bit. Let's see, Charles Gothard here. And if I miss a comment, guys, don't get upset with me because it's scrolling through pretty quick. But Charles here asked how many hives I run. I currently have about 75 or so, I believe. Charles, I had up to like 130, 140, but I lost a bunch this year. And so that was kind of a nightmare. And my goal this year is to just manage the bees better, hopefully get on back up to that number plus some. There's Greg. Let me get him in here. There he is. What's up, Greg?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Doing good. Listen, I just was talking a little bit about what we're going to do. I just thought we'd talk a little bit about the Hive Life Conference and just kind of talk a little bit about bees and just kind of what's going on with the Hive Live and what you guys are going to be bringing up there and so forth. And cool. And we'd love to have, if anybody on here that's watching this live is going to the Hive Life Conference, just give us a thumbs up down there, or just talk about it in the comments. Let us see who all is going to be there. I think that it kind of came up on people pretty quick. A lot of people who were there last year and like I had heard about last year's Hive Life Conference. And so I signed up pretty early. There's a lot of guys who just a lot of people who kind of just waited till the last minute and maybe weren't able to go, or maybe they'll go next year or whatever. So did we lose? We lost Greg.
No, I think Greg dropped out.
That's okay. I don't know. He'll come back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, just let us know if you're coming. If not, that's fine. And maybe you can go next year, but I'm excited about it. How about you, Brian? What do you think?
I am beyond excited to get down to this conference. Kanan said it's not a good first conference to take a credit card to.
I can imagine.
So he suggested give all credit cards and all form of, currency handed over to whoever you're going to be with.
Yes, no doubt. I'm going by myself, so that's not an option.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So what about you, Greg? I guess you went last year, didn't you, Greg? Did you go last year, Brian? Did you go last year, Brian?
I was about 1 week out from having COVID. So,
oh gosh, yeah, you're sick.
Yeah,
just
I wanted to go, but I was still kind of recovering, so I couldn't.
Cool.
Yeah, went last year. Dan, I see Dan Bokris is on here. He actually got a hold of me and said, "Hey, you want to go to this conference?" And he rattled off the names of the people there. And I got to admit, I was just so entrenched on what we were doing here. I just was like, well, I don't know. And decided, well, if you want to go, Dan, I'll go. And we end up going and end up being one of the best decisions probably ever made. Just the people we met, the connections. And it was a great time last year. This year is going to be, I would say, good Lord, probably 2 or 3 times bigger than what it was last year, especially with the vendors and things like that. So it's definitely catching some steam and creating quite the buzz.
Yes, it's pretty crazy because like last year I was kind of like, well, I know, Brian, it sounds like you wanted to go, but I kind of heard about it, but really didn't. I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool, but I'm like, kind of, what is this thing? I really just didn't even really seriously consider it. I thought about it, but then I just didn't go. And then I heard all the rave reviews on how awesome it was. And Cayman and I talked a little bit. Hey, what's up, Tim? Hey, I'm going to put Tim right here. Check this out. Tim Ives is popping in. Tim right here. Tim is a guy up in Indiana, northern Indiana. So his weather's probably kind of like you guys. he actually runs big, tall, 3 deep colonies, and he has mentored me over the years. When I used the name Tim in one of my videos recently, that's who I was talking about. So that's pretty cool, Tim. Thanks for checking in, man. I've kind of gotten away from those a little bit just because it's not that I don't believe in the deep colonies, the three deeps. It's just I haven't found queens that could really handle that down here. Need to get hold of some of those. Tim has he runs, and it's crazy because he goes against a lot of the common what everybody's doing, but he's he kills it with his bees. He's only we're in India. I think he's up around where Notre Dame is. What's that up in that area somewhere? But
South Bend.
He's up in that area somewhere, a town close there, I believe. But I kind of I did one hive that was kind of funny. That it was in 2015 when I did that. If you go way back in my videos, I did some videos, the 3 video series on, I call it the Mega Hive. And I had a hive in my backyard that literally it went through every step of what he told me to do. I got on the phone with Tim. He helped walk me through it. He texted me. We had a really good thing going there. And that thing was, I think, 12 or 13 boxes tall. And I think I harvested 315 pounds of honey off of it.
Wow.
But the next year I got 200 off of it, and then it kind of died out the next year. So I haven't been able to find another queen. I've had some nice tall stacked up hives, but I've kind of gone the other direction a little bit, but I'm always open to try different things.
Yeah.
But Tim has a unique way of running things up there, and I just appreciate you checking in, Tim. He's one of my early mentors and taught me a lot of fundamentals about bees. He's kind of a numbers guy. Yeah, he says in labor intensive, no doubt. It would take me 45 minutes just to pull the boxes off of that joker. I had to get a ladder to get up to the top, and it was packed with bees. It was unreal how awesome that hive was. At the time I said I wish I had like a bunch of those, but I don't know if I could have physically done it, because I would, in July when you're trying to harvest that honey, 95 degrees outside and humid, pulling those things off. The bees are mad. It was so much fun. It was fun, but I'm getting older now, and I'm dealing with, and we're doing more pollination type stuff now. So trying to move in that direction a little bit, maybe start doing some queens and selling some nukes and stuff. So a little different goal now. But I appreciate all your help, Tim. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Greg. But you were talking about your experience last year up there, and
it's just it was a great experience, and just like you jumping on there and talking about Tim, it's when you go to Hive Life, you end up rubbing elbows and with just some really great folks, all the earth type people, and you really can't hardly put a price tag on that, especially some of the folks that you meet and the networks you build, and it's just nice to be able to make those relationships, and they end up are super long lasting. There's people that you come up and say, hey, especially, we have our YouTube channel is small. We don't have a lot of subscribers, but even last year there were a lot of people that kept coming up and saying hi and saying, hey, and you actually end up keeping up with them as the year goes on. And I think that's the fun part, is just, going from, this kind of a face-to-face thing to an in-person face-to-face thing. I think that's a pretty cool deal.
absolutely,
to be able to do that. But we're really looking forward to this year. And what's the weather looking like? I guess, Bruce, that I just saw a little bit ago, there's some weather coming in, sweeping right across what is it, the northern part of Georgia, Tennessee, coming right up underneath of us, Brian, it looks like. So planning our trip, we gotta be smart.
Yeah, I think they were talking today. I heard on the news about Washington, D.C. is preparing for a big ice storm or whatever. So, but I think that's happening. Like right now, we had it yesterday, and I mean, we were down in the 30s this morning, which is way different than a week ago. It was like 75 degrees, whatever. So
Look at
happy,
him
good to
rubbing
see
it in
you.
again, Brian. You just
But now
the suntan lotion thing.
I definitely had to wear up a little bit today. I was out there looking at the weight on the hives a little bit and doing a couple of things, but it was really pretty chilly. So we're not cold like you guys. Well, I'll say chilly. I'm not going to say cold. Cold by our standards, but just maybe a little chilly. You guys will be out there in short sleeves and shorts down here the way it is at 33 degrees. Probably. But anyway.
But to be fair, if we come down in your neck of the woods in July and try to work the bees with you, we'd be just sweating and dying, and we're just not fit for that. So
the humidity is what, the heat is one thing, and it's tough, but the humidity is what absolutely can suck all your strength and sap all your energy.
Bruce, I got to say, there's somebody that popped into the chat here that I've heard you comment about. It's Yappy Bee Man.
Yeah, there he is, Travis. Oh, Yappy. I've known Let me tell you my story about Yappy. Back in 2014, 2015, somewhere in my second or third year having bees, or maybe my fourth year, I had he is friends with JP the Bee Man, and most people on here have probably seen JP's videos. I've never met JP. I think I messaged him a time or two, and he's real good to respond when I messaged him. But I wish I had a picture of that thing. There is a video on it. I did a waggle dance video because it was an open air hive out here in the country, not far from here. If you've seen my videos, the Lake Patty Sue videos, I've done, it was close to there. It was the guy that kind of hooked me up with that gig. His brother owns that land. But anyway, I heard about, a friend of mine told me he was friends with this guy that had this open air colony out there on a tree. He was a heavy equipment operator. They were about to clear that land right there along with this ditch, this trench, and this thing was hanging just right up there. It was just beautiful. And I heard about Yappy, and so I actually contacted him, talked to him, and he kind of walked me through the process of removing that thing. He almost jumped in his car and came down here, but I think he's about 4 hours away from here, and that would have been kind of a big trip for him to come down. But yeah, he's a great guy. I don't know, he's got whatever it is with YouTube. He's got just a unbelievable amount of views. He had a video that went viral this spring with millions of views, and
wow,
and it's great to have you on here, Yap. I appreciate you being on here. But he's a really nice guy, and he's going to be at the conference, I've heard. So
nice.
And his name is Yappy Bee Man. His name is Yappy for a reason. He likes to talk, so it'll be good to meet him in person. I've never met him in person. It'll be good to meet him in person.
Isn't it true though that pretty much every single beekeeper likes to talk?
I think so. If bees is the common topic, yes, I think that's probably true. But
yeah,
you guys got your bags packed and ready to go?
No, listen, I'm still trying to get this live. I finally have, I think, a pretty good setup here, so I don't have to worry about buying anything else for live. So now I can focus on getting ready to go to Tennessee. Anyway,
nice.
But yeah, I've got it won't take me very long to pack up. You're hauling a bunch of equipment up there and a bunch of stuff to sell, I think, aren't you, Greg? I just got myself my backpack and I might try and take my phone to video a little bit here or there, and just myself. I'm just taking in some clothes. That's all I got.
That phone of yours does a good job. If you feel the need to do it. I'm sitting here in the breakfast nook because, Brian knows he was over helping us get that wood shop straightened up, and half of that wood shop's going to be a supply store for us. So for right now, all of our current storage of our supplies are in either a semi-trailer or a Connex box. And right now it's so cold, I got half the stuff taking up the dining room table and half of the house, and it's a nightmare. So I had to actually grab my wife's computer and come here in the breakfast nook to try to do the live thing on another internet source, because we're trying to. How long does it take you guys to upload a video? Like let's say if you like an hour-long video. Well, you guys don't probably do hour-long videos. Your longest video, how long does that take you to upload?
My videos typically, like the one that I just did the other day, I think it was a 15-minute video. It was done in under half an hour or so.
Oh my gosh.
Mine don't even take that long. My typical 10 to 15 minutes videos probably take, basically while I'm typing in the description, I start them uploading. While I'm typing the description, it's done by the time I type in the description. So within 10 minutes, it's usually, I haven't done any like hour long. I know I used to take longer when I didn't know what I was doing, but we've got pretty good internet here. Our Wi-Fi.
I'm what am I 48, 50 hours in right now on an upload. It's an hour and 10 minute video of we just released a podcast that came out this morning on the Contrary Beekeeper Show, where it's me and Dan kind of talking about the chaos of last year. The video format, which is right here in this breakfast nook, it's on 50 hours, and so that's set up down in the studio, and that's on a different Wi-Fi. Well, that's where all my stuff is set up. So I had to try to bring stuff up here to try to set it up, because you can't pause that. Don't even think about pausing the upload after 50 hours. It's like, good Lord. But
what percentage? Where's it at, like percentage wise?
I'm at 86%.
Ooh, yeah, don't touch it.
Wow.
So by tomorrow at dinner time, hopefully that thing uploads. That's so I tell you what would be a good live stream sometime, Bruce, is to jump on here and talk about all the ins and the outs and the sometimes painful characteristics of trying to create a little content and sharing that with folks, and what it takes to actually do that. I couldn't tell you how many just how many videos never see the light of day because you just want something happens, either an SD card or a hard drive issue or this or that, and it can be so frustrating to try to, you want to share something and do a good job doing it, and there's a
Yeah,
lot to it to get something out for someone's where it's decent, where you feel like it's acceptable
yeah,
to show
especially the
stuff.
quality of stuff you do with the podcast quality. I mean, you're putting a lot of effort into just sound quality and everything else. And so I imagine, but even me, lately I've put a lot more time into trying to create better quality content. I hope people out there who are watching this or who watch my videos have noticed that. And so I'm just trying to get better. But I used to just shoot it on my phone and go just try to cut out what I didn't think was on there and just throw it up there. But now I'm trying to actually make it a better quality product. And
Yeah.
so, and I know that many of you are aware of the, Brian or JC's Bees, Jason Chrisman. And there was a guy recently, I could tell Jason put a lot of work in this video about Premier Foundation, which we've talked about a little bit in last week. And this guy got on there and just ripped him up and down one side and down the
Yeah.
other. Talked about how he was just really was rude to him. I'm not going to say what he said, but just talked about how he was dishonest. And I'm like, look, I try to stay away from stuff, especially on somebody else's feed. But I was like, look, man, you have no idea the type of effort and work Brian or that Jason puts into this channel, and it's so much work and how many hours he probably put in trying to plan that thing out. Plus, he was following kind of like what you did, Greg. He like put him in the colonies, and then he took them out and saw the results and just really tried to share everything he was doing and then put together a pretty good video on it. And this guy just ripped him up and down. And I'm like, man, just people have no idea how much time it takes. Beekeeping alone, most people on here are beekeepers, I assume, and those who aren't may want to be, but it's work and it takes time. And then when you're trying to share, I think with any niche that you do, whether it's beekeeping or anything else, and you're trying to create any kind of content, if you're trying to improve and you're trying to do better, there's time involved that just people don't have any idea. For me, that video I did, that I think probably the one I did on 5 things I wish I knew, Beekeeping 101, or Beekeeping for Beginners, 5 things I wish I knew before I started keeping bees. That video I probably spent, because I was really took that one serious. I probably spent really all day shooting it in different locations, and then it's probably got 12 to 15 hours of time into that, just that little 7-minute video or however 7.5-minute video. So, because I took like many clips at every spot, I wanted just to do it right because I felt like that was an important video. And so most of my videos don't take quite that long, but I can imagine with those podcasts you do though, where you're interviewing people and you've got all your setup.
I
imagine that's rough. Just an incredible amount of work.
Well, and it's not a matter of if something goes wrong, it's when, and it does. When you have 3 cameras going on and you're getting all these angles and you have to bring everything in and try to sync them, and it's just, I'm not complaining by any stretch. It's just it's always seems like something, and you're always going to get the person who's going to give you the thumbs down on the video. You're always going to have the person that's going to try to wear you out with negativity on your comments. But you can, like Taylor Boys Outdoors there said, you gotta have thick skin. That's for sure.
Hey, there was a question I saw in there that was actually a pretty good one by Jerry Brown. Is buying a queen more efficient than allowing a colony to superseed? Pros and cons.
We all have a different opinion.
Go ahead, Greg. I'll let you take that one, Greg.
Well, is buying a queen more efficient than allowing a colony to supersede? Pros and cons. Well, efficiency, we're probably all going to have a different definition of efficiency. Is it more efficient with the resources they have in the hive? Is it a time efficiency? A lot depends on the time of the year. For instance, if you're in the spring of the year and you have a queen that's superseding during peak flow and everything's going right and it has nothing to do with swarming, maybe she's old, she's injured, she's not doing her job, and they supersede, well, you could probably afford, if there's a flow on, you could probably afford to let them make a queen. But if you get later on in the year, or you're trying to build that colony out, or you're trying to keep just eggs pumping as long and hard as possible in that colony to either split it out or build it up for a later flow, or like Bruce, if he was late in the season in the fall and he was having queen issues and if she wasn't laying and wasn't getting that colony built up, he would have some serious trouble getting those colonies to grade to ship them out for almonds. So
yeah, absolutely.
Is it efficiency? I think is something that's probably a little different in each of our context. I used to be of the opinion where I would only cut queen cells. I did a lot of I don't want to say reverse engineering queens, but I made a lot of great quality queens when efficiency was kind of the definition of efficiency didn't really come into focus yet. Now for me, if I don't have a queen in there laying, then I feel like it's setting me back every single day that there's not a queen doing what she's doing. But our context is a little bit different. You know, we raise nukes for queens when we're not raising honey. So we got to have that going on inside of the hive. But there are always colonies that are going to get away from you, and they're going to swarm, or there's something's going to happen, and you end up finding, you know, a fresh queen that's, you know, you didn't mark, or she's a virgin queen. You get in there and find a virgin, and well, how's that possible? Well, that's you know what happened. Pros and cons, though, I think it's just like you said there. If time is of the essence, if it's late in the season and you have specific goals that you need the growth, I think it's money well spent to get a good quality queen and to keep that hive kind of chugging along. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that it really depends on your goals. The most important thing about a queen is the quality. You know, I've ordered some queens from different places, and most of the time, unfortunately, a lot of the places I've ordered queens from, you know, probably if I were to just say, for example, 10 queens, you know, probably 2 or 3 of them just blow it out. They're incredible. 2 or 3 of them just don't take, and then the other 2 or 3 are just very average. And so that's the problem I have with buying mated queens. I actually bought some from Lappy's Bee Supply late this summer. I had some colonies like you were talking about that were weak, that either the queen was failing or the hives were failing. And I'm like, it was like a last ditch effort. I put some of those queens in situations that weren't that good. And the ones that I put in situations that were survivable, they actually have done really well. And, you know, I was impressed with them. I have one of them, if you watch my last video, the very first hive that I went into, the first colony I went into was one of those queens. And the hive the colony I put him into was very irritable and angry and just mean. And but they were strong, but not super strong. It was I would say, an average strength colony, and now they're just rocking and rolling. And so I think quality, it's very efficient, obviously, to put a laying queen in there, but quality is so important too. But if you get a young queen, if you do queen, like maybe cells, and they emerge and they go to town, they can almost catch up sometimes, those mated queens. But late in the season or certain times of the year, it's also a cost. You know, when you say efficient, that could mean cost. You know, mated queens are anywhere from, at the very bottom end, if you buy in quantity, you're looking at $20-$25, or you can pay on up to $40 or $50 for a queen. And so you're trying, I mean, if you're ordering 1 or 2, that's one thing, but if you're ordering 100, that gets very expensive very fast. So that's another consideration.
Brian, what do you think?
For me, the very first thing that I look at in that situation is, you know, up here in Ohio, it's the time of the year. You know, if we're hitting close to September and I see those cells in there, I'm looking at, well, can I afford to let them develop out that cell? You know, is there going to be enough time? Can she adequately go out and mate, come back and start laying? And then, and the reason why I'm looking at that is because, like you said, is there going to be adequate time for her to come back then and lay up my winter bees? So timing is just essential, you know, for me at least, just the backyard kind of person. You know, if I'm in that situation and I don't have access to a mated queen, it's almost like I might just combine that hive with another just to disperse out those resources so that I do have those strong colonies instead of risking just losing, you know, all those bees in there. If it was early in the year and it was a hive that was a decent producing hive for me, you know, if that queen would lay up a decent brood pattern, everything like that, I would just let them recycle out those genetics. You know, that's more of my thought. So first thing that I think is just time of the year, and then I look at just how the hive produces.
I wanted to I appreciate your comments, guys. I wanted to look down here. I guess you say Yehuda. I guess that's how you say your name. But he says, I feel a part of a great community and hope to be able to contribute back. That I think that's just like awesome, man. That's like what I want. That's how I
Yeah.
feel. I sometimes feel like I'm not really doing the best job. I'm not really, I'm not doing the greatest job with my bees. I could do better. I know I could, and I'm trying to get better. But I love this community, man. I love the YouTube thing. Like these two guys right here, I didn't even know y'all about a month ago. I mean, I think I'd heard of both of you, but you weren't kind of really on my radar. And then I watched a live or two, and Greg actually reached out to me about sitting down with him up at the Hive Life Conference. And then I'd heard about how Brian was a very technology savvy when it came to live videos. Brian told me Greg was an expert with sound. And so, in the last, 2 or 3 weeks, we've formed a pretty good friendship, I think. And so that's one of the things I like.
Yeah.
And, we talked about Tim Ives earlier. I found out about him. I watched a YouTube video. Of course, we got Cayman, Ian, Yappy, Mike Berry, we got Jose out there, the California beekeeper, and there's so many more, JC's Bees, and there's so many more out there. It's a community. And I think that's why people are so excited about this Hive Life Conference, because a lot of the YouTubers are going to be there, and a lot of just beekeepers are going to be there and get to meet a lot of people they watch on YouTube. And I feel like I'm at the bottom of that totem pole, man. I feel like there's going to be some great ones there, but I'm looking forward to, I've talked to both of you guys about, are you going to focus on creating content there? Or are you just going to go enjoy it or what? And you each I think we're all going to kind of feel it out, but I really just want to go meet people, and I don't want to feel the obligation the whole time to create content, even though I may just pull out my phone and take a few videos here or there. Or I may not. I don't know. I'm going with a completely open mind. I don't plan on spending all my time trying to see if I can get a really good video out of it. I think there's going to be plenty of that. And I just want to spend time meeting people that I'll look up to and just going around and hanging out. I've had several people on these, my videos or on these lives have said, hey, I want to meet you at the conference. And so I look forward to that. That's really what I want to do, is meet people and sit down with people and just talk a little bit. It's going to be a crazy time. I'm looking forward to it.
And don't be shy. There's unfortunately, I can't read the comments fast enough before they're getting in there, but I'm not sure where it was at. Someone said that they wanted to they'd like to talk to us at the conference, or maybe later about
that was back at about
beekeeping
YouTubing,
or YouTubing. That's the thing. I think you'll find there it is. Yeah, Charles. Whoever you see on YouTube, I've not met a single one that won't take the time to talk to you. Everyone is extremely approachable, down to earth. That's this is great. Like I keep saying, to have the comments and the back and forth, but to meet you guys face to face. I mean, I'm going to speak for all of us, and I'm going to probably speak for every YouTuber or content creator at the Hive Live Conference. So forgive me for generalizing, but if you see any of us or anybody there, do not be afraid to come up and say hi, tap them on the shoulder, give them a high five, whatever. It's unfortunately, because we create videos, we're on the weird side of your screen, but in the reality of it, we're on the same side of a screen looking at somebody else too. We are no different than the folks watching. The most rewarding thing is to be able to meet folks like Charles or anybody else, and say hi and make that connection. And the perks are, you might show up on one of Brian's or Bruce or mine or somebody else's YouTube video, good, bad, or indifferent. You'll be infamous, right, Brian?
And I tell you what,
Brian, you get 2,000. Way to go.
I wanted to bring that up. Definitely need to bring that up.
That's crazy.
That's awesome, man.
But and not even to get onto that, but yeah, like I've been telling everybody, if you see me at the conference, come up, and like Greg said too, you might appear in a video, because I do plan on, there are certain speakers that I definitely want to, focus on, and just so I can just gain that knowledge. But there are other times where I want to walk out and meet as many people. If there's someone out there that watches my channel, I think the least thing that I can do is just go out there and just say hello and just meet as many people as what I can. But I have a little plan too. So, those that if you want part of the video, I am going to film a little bit of a video, but I need to come up with 5 questions, and I'm just going to do a quick little, throw some questions at people and just throw it all together in a video. And they might be beekeeping related, or it might be, tell me why Ohio State's the best team out there. So,
Why
but
Alabama
yeah,
isn't.
huh?
Or why Alabama isn't, right, Bruce?
Exactly. But yeah,
Who's playing next Monday night? I mean, I'm
so
worried
focused.
about.
I've been so
that
focused
one.
on the conference that I don't know who's playing football
It's
anymore.
because your team's not playing. That's why.
That's funny.
I'm sorry. That was mean, but
Yeah.
it's the truth. But I don't know. I'm worried. I think it might be interesting Monday night. We beat them once. It might be tough to beat those Bulldogs again. But either way, hey, it's every year we're in the hunt, whether we make it or not. We're in the hunt, and Ohio State is too. Honestly, Ohio State's in the hunt every year as well. So we can't get too crazy about it. But I went to BYU, and Utah's our big rivals, and Ohio State beat them in the Rose Bowl. So anyway, yeah, PB Man says roll Tide. That's it, Travis. You tell him, buddy. Of course, he's from Alabama, guessing. I mean, if you live in Alabama, you can't. I mean, you got to pull for Alabama or Auburn pretty much, or even if you pull somebody else, you got to pick one that you kind of pull for in the state, or most people do, even if you pull for somebody, unless you're a Georgia fan. Georgia fans, they don't pull for anybody but Georgia. So, and it's not that way with everyone, but it is for a lot of people. Anyway, so I wanted to we got a lot of people on here. I was going to make this like a 30-minute thing, and it never works out that way.
It's hard to do that.
But I did want to just really give Brian a big congratulations on that 2,000 subscribers. He was
appreciate that.
You've up about 300. You were at 1,700 or so when we did that first live a couple of weeks ago, and
I've gone up. I've been going up at least 10 or so a day. So it's like, since last week and a half, I've gone up like 150 or whatever. And that to me is just like, I'm used to, and I don't even, it's not even really, I'll do the same thing that I do, regardless of however many people I get that watch me. I like to keep it real and just show everything. It's just like the other day, I lost one. It happens.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
reality of
That was a
beekeeping.
really good video. I enjoyed that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's pretty cool when you hit those milestones. And let me show you this comment right here. Consider making queens or nukes as additional income. Making queens and nukes is kind of tough to do when you're trying to build your outfit, but maybe in the future. Adam, this is Adam. So I appreciate that question, Adam, and that is true. I want to do everything. I want to make queens. I've sold a few nukes here or there. I want to just do pollination. I want to do honey, but I do. Tim Ive says Notre Dame choked. That's true. I do. I do work full time, so it makes it very difficult, and I'm just not very efficient. It doesn't seem like anything I do. And so, that's my goal in the future. If I decide to retire one of these days and I'm still physically able, I may try to delve into some of those things. And it is true. You said it's kind of tough in building your outfit. I'm trying to build. I lost a bunch last year, and so I'm trying to build back up. And I'm down probably about half, or a little bit less than half, or a little bit more than half of what I was last year in the peak of this summer. And so, but yeah, I've sold a few nukes. My other concern is quality. I want to make sure that I sell nukes that are quality. I don't want to sell junk. And so I'm really I don't have the confidence built up yet to really feel like I can consistently sell good nukes. And so what I do when I sell nukes is I have people come over to my bee yard and look at my nukes and pick the ones they want. And so they end up taking the strongest ones. And so, which is what I think how it should be, but I want them to all be strong. And so that's where I'm still trying to figure that stuff out. And, in the future, yes, I would like to do a little bit of all of it, but right now we do a little bit of pollination. I'm trying to figure that out, trying to figure out how to grow and how to just have quality bees. I also want to get more like Greg and have bees that are nicer. Most of mine are feral, either queens that I've ordered or queen cells I put in there, but they're a combination of local swarms I've caught and just feral bees. And so I've got a little bit of everything in the attitude and genetics. So I just am not quite there yet where I feel confident about selling a bunch of nukes to people. I want to kind of get
some nice queens down there. Let you try them
out.
out.
We'll definitely try them out.
Smooth some things out for you.
So anyway, but yeah, that's let's see. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. trying to get, even if I don't have as many colonies, I want to make sure I figure out what I'm doing. I grew so fast and expanded so quickly, and I got behind last year, and I thought I was doing great. And then I was doing good until I wasn't, type of a thing. And I was humbled quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so now I want, even if I don't have as many hives, I want to make sure I want my hives to look like Cayman's do. Now I know Cayman probably has a few dead outs here or there, but they always seem to look good and calm and healthy. And he's out there without any gear on all the time, working his bees. He may have a veil on, and that's kind of my goal, is to kind of follow his blueprint with the good queens, dead mites, and I think he says awesome queens, dead mites, and proper nutrition. And I'm just not quite there yet, but I'm working on it. We'll get there. I understand the principles. It's putting it in action that makes it tough for me.
Mhm.
Just taking the time and figuring out how to do it efficiently is
Yeah.
my problem.
I think it's great queens, dead mites,
Dead
good
mites,
nutrition.
and
Yep.
quality and good nutrition. That's right.
I think that's
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Pretty simple, but it's tough
Yeah.
to do that. And I'd also say either dead beetles or beetle prevention, because beetles
Oh,
have been equally as devastating to me. I think, as I just have a horrible time with the beetles this year. They just wiped me out, but I think it was a result of not getting on them early. And then I think the mites probably took over. I think I had some weak queens. And so a little bit of combination of all of it. And I just had a beamageddon this year, just lost a ton of hives this year.
well, I think we all have that.
So-
We've been honest. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we have one yard here that's by the house that was supposed to be the set aside for my wife so she can have honey, because her friends always ask her, how can you have hundreds of hives and not have any honey to sell? So we try to set those aside. Well, it was like the last of the treatment-free approach / neglect / I forgot they weren't wherever the rest of the colonies were, but and there's 30, out of 30, there's 2 survivors. That's on
Yeah.
me. Those bees will, as hard as we try, they're just not going to survive on their own, and so you end up paying the price on that. But there's a bunch. I wish I could see these questions fast enough, but I'm not. I guess
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to see them there.
Here's a good one here from Rob over at Laura Bees. Let me get that one off.
Talk about beetles.
Yep. How can you talk about how you
Yeah.
treat and deal with beetles? So you guys, do you have beetle problem up there much? Are they a problem up there?
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you do?
I use the oil traps. I put one on each side, one towards the front, one towards the rear. So there's 2 of them, and they seem to work. I mean, I've never run into a situation where I've had a hive that, just gets totally overrun with beetles. I think part of that too, and what do I put in there? I just put an oil. So it's just
Vegetable oil
regular
and
cooking
mineral
oil.
oil?
Yeah. It's just really, it's whatever kind of cooking oil that, that I find when I'm walking out of the door. But I think part of the beetles too, and someone drilled this into my head very early on, is make sure, as far as colony size, I'm just not trying to expand out, that hive too fast. So make sure that they don't have so much room that they can't manage the pests on their own. Because if it's a strong colony, they're going to manage those beetles. They're going to run them out, and that's typically what I see. And it's interesting because my poly hive, where it has a clear, it's like a plexi inner cover. It's funny because along the tops of the frames, you'll see typically on one of them, the bees will have, I'll see about 8 or so beetles, and they'll be lined up almost in like a row where the bees have chased them up there and they can't get to them. And I'll just take my hive tool and just and smash them. But I think he is just that strong colony is going to deal with them partly. And, I keep those oil traps in them too. Um, maybe I've been lucky over the years and I've never really had like an infestation of them. That might be it as well. So, Greg, what do you do?
I do a lot of this and a lot of this and a lot of
Yeah.
rally caps and the whole, because it's becoming a real problem in the county that I'm at. I don't know if it's because if we're in the foothills of the Appalachians and it's hardwoods and it's, I don't know what the
Mhm.
soil type maybe. But I hate to be, contrary, it seems like, to what most folks say about these things, but I've seen hive beetles completely slime out a 30 frame colony.
Yeah.
And I've seen a 1 or a 2 frame split in the shade be totally fine. There were some things that we did, I think we might have mentioned it in one of these live chats, that seemed to really help. And it was a buddy of mine, Todd Prater. He's probably not too far from Jose. He's up in Northern California. But I started using black landscape fabric, the polypropylene woven black ground covering, which you'll see at most nurseries and things like that. Context is key because I can only do that for maybe up to like 100 hives. So not all the yards get that, but anything that's on a hive stand, I can put a 3-foot piece of landscape fabric down, put my hive stands, put the colonies on it, and then where I have pallets on some of the areas, I can put the 6-foot down. That really seemed to help a lot this year. And there, like I mentioned earlier, I had one colony. You pop open you can smell it before you get there. You can smell. Bruce has probably smelled it, and it turns your stomach. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it makes you sick. It has a certain,
it's nasty.
not a dead bee smell, but it has a hive beetle larva smell that's just it's sour to say the least. But
Sour.
anyways, these jokers were just dive bombing off the solid bottom board when I crack open the hive and falling out of that black plastic, and they're just getting blasted by the heat, exposed to the sun like the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz with the bucket of water. So I think that did help in that yard. So primarily where I was making nukes and making queens in that yard, it really helped to keep the smaller colonies, kind of protect them a little bit from the hive beetles. But I do a lot of the standard things that Brian and most other folks do. The Dollar General brand unscented Swiffer sheets seem to really help. Early on, I got rid of a bunch of things that seemed to attract beetles, like inner covers, hive top feeders, things where they're always hanging out. They're always there. I got rid of that. That helped out a lot. I haven't had the best of luck with the beetle blasters. It seemed like they kind of always got funky, and I never found anything dead, no matter if I put DE in it or mineral oil. But I've also seems like there's I'm going to admit to being ignorant to this, but there's the small hive beetle, and I think maybe it's the greater hive beetle, but there's one that's just a hair bigger, and when you look at it, it almost looks twice the size. Well, we have both of those. So we have the standard one. Maybe it's a male, female, but usually you just see the one size. Well, when it gets really bad, you start to see the one that's like twice the size. And so I'm not sure what that's about. The other thing, we did a little test this year. Before we get everything laid out for queens and making splits with usually a 5-frame box or a 10-frame box that's split out in 3, we'll make something called beetle butter and put it on the bottom board, which is diatomaceous earth, eucalyptus oil, and Crisco. Mix that up, put that on the bottom board and in the little corners. And the idea is it attracts the hive beetles to that. They ingest the DE and then it cuts them up from the inside. I missed about, I think it was 6 or 7 colonies I missed doing that to, and those were the ones that had a problem. Everything else was clean. So I think that's maybe has something to do with it. I wish I could just say put them in the full sun and have a strong colony, and that's going to take care of it. But for whatever reason, it seems like the hive beetles here haven't read that piece of information or that book, and they seem to just do what they want. But
well, this past year, I've gotten hammered down. Stan earlier asked if I'm having issues. I think he asked. Let me go back up here. Stan Gore. He's right here. He is. Did you have small hive beetles with strong colonies? And I will say the answer to that is a resounding yes. I know that several people on here have talked about putting them in the sun and having strong. And there is some value. There's some validity to that. That if you have a strong colony, the bees they build little tunnels for them. They keep them in check. They kind of trap them themselves and keep them herded in a little corner. But I had some this year, some of my strongest colonies that just got hammered down with the beetles. I mean, that's what really surprised me is my strongest colonies seem to get just taken out. That's what was so, I mean, if I lose a weak nuke, it's not a big deal. But when you've got a 3 or 4 box deep or 3 or 4 box tall colony or taller, and it's just packed the honey in, you harvest 120, over 100 pounds of honey off that hive, and you think, man, these bees are awesome. And then you come back 2 weeks later and they're slimed out. Just bees everywhere, and all of a sudden they're slimed out. The bees are gone. They've absconded, and there's larvae in the bottom. It's just like you said, the nastiest thing in beekeeping there could possibly be. You know, I don't know. It's like I have lost some strong colonies. It seems like some of the stronger ones are the ones I lose. I think part of that is because I think that some of my colonies that were so strong got honey bound. So even though they had a lot of bees in them, they're really strong. I think honey bound, the queen didn't have enough room to lay. Possibly they didn't have enough bees, emerging. Maybe the population dove about the time the mites peaked and the beetles took over. And I know they are opportunists for sure. But I've had good success. I've used a couple things that I use are the beetle blasters. Now I use, and people have gotten on me about this. I've put some bait in there, some roach bait in those, and it just annihilates the beetles. I'll fill a complete that with beetles with 2 drops of roach bait in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I also use the H470, I think it is, towels from Dixie Towels. It's like the same principle as Swiffer sheets. And I've annihilated thousands and thousands of beetles using those things. But I think the key this year is I've got to get on them sooner in the spring instead of waiting. I've always been reactionary. I've always reacted instead of been proactive, and that's been my problem. I'm going to try putting some stuff on the ground. I think the landscaping tarp or landscaping paper is good.
That's a good idea.
It's difficult, I think, and if you got a lot of colonies, if you're doing pallets and stuff and moving around, it's tough to do that.
It is.
Yes, Tim talks about quit using screen bottom boards. I agree with that. I've never used them, and I just look at the screen bottom boards. This is my everybody knows if you ask 5 beekeeping questions, you're gonna get 10 different answers. But to me, there is not a tree out there that has a screen in the bottom. You know, typically bees find spots that are closing the bottom, and so I have never used those. Tim actually was instrumental in I think he kind of steered me away from that. I never was planning on doing it, but and then my mentor doesn't use them either. So, let's see. Golly, it's crazy how I thought, man, we'll get on here and we'll do a 30-minute video, and here we're almost an hour in, and it's like,
hey, Bruce,
it's so much fun, man.
Here.
So much fun. Go ahead. Which one is it?
Tritone WR.
Okay. Let's see.
Tritone WR. Anyone try Chris Werner's essential oil recipe? That's a great question. If you saw Bob's video, that was me behind the camera, and so I got to see a lot of the ins and the outs when it came to that. I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. That is one thing that we did early on this year when we were making nukes up. Is it was a blue towel with man. Now I'm going to forget the recipe. I've got it written down because I am terrible about remembering these things. Camphor, tea tree, and eucalyptus with I believe it was mineral oil. Check out the Florida Beekeeping series on Bob's channel, and you'll see that. I'm sure I can find it too. But the Chris Werner and family, they primarily use that right after treating with thymol, and Chris believes that it helps. He in the video he talks about if you cut yourself, using those oils helps to soothe your skin and soothe the burn, soothe the cut, and so they were primarily using that as a kind of a post treatment after treating the colonies because they believe that thymol can be a little bit rough on the bee, so they were using it helps maybe with a little bit of maybe gut biology, but the physical aspects of the bee. And then in passing, he mentioned he also thinks it helps them with hive beetles. Now, when I was down there with Bob, we went through, I couldn't even tell you how many yards, thousands and thousands of hives. We were cracking lids, moving bees. I didn't see one hive beetle, not a single hive beetle in any of those colonies down with Chris Werner. So they're definitely.
Greg, we're losing you a little bit. Maybe I have a bad connection.
Yeah.
Are you there, Greg?
Everyone's back there. I think that
we lost you for a second there, Greg. Hey, let me see if I can find it here. We have someone from Southeast Alabama, midwife right here checking in. Where are you from? What part of Southeast Alabama are you from? Let us know. Okay.
When you said, Bruce, how many small hive beetles that you'll take care of in a year, I think, and just thinking through all of mine, throughout the whole season, I probably saw 100.
Yeah, see,
So
I mean, I mean, yeah, that's,
I could have filled a 5-gallon bucket with larvae last year.
yeah, I think I could have filled a
Yeah.
5-gallon bucket. Between larvae and
Mm.
beetles, I could have filled multiple ones. But Grammy Midwife is from Ozark, which is about 20 miles. I'm in Dothan, but I actually have
Mm.
some bees in Ozark. So she's right here in this area.
I
Cool.
and like because I'm hearing everybody talk about beetles, and I'm just thinking, man, I mean, I'll get in there and I'll see 4 or 5 running around, and I'm like, oh, so I'm
What kind of soil do you have, Brian?
same as you. It's just that it's that regular old Ohio. It's that dark, real dark, rich soil. But you go down, I would say where my hives are, you go down 14 or 16 inches and there's clay.
We're all clay. So where we're at here in these hills, the glaciers cut all the topsoil and then moved it south of here. And so we are nothing but,
Oh.
we've got about maybe 4 inches of topsoil with 14 inches of kind of a brownish yellow clay, and then 2 or 3 feet of white clay, and then coal seams. And so I wonder, Bruce, how much do you have heavy clay in your area too?
I think you've heard of that red clay in the South. We've got
Yeah.
Alabama, it's around, but it's underneath a layer of topsoil. But some of our topsoil, I think, is sandy. And some is not. Our soil, I don't think it's super rich here, but we do have a lot of farming that goes on, so it's pretty good soil. But I'm not sure exactly what it is. I do know that when you dig down about, you get down below that topsoil layer, it's that sticky, hard red clay, and it's just I don't think anything would grow in that. When in the summertime when it's dry, if you ever have a dearth or a drought, it's like trying to shovel through concrete. You just about can't break
Yeah.
through. It's so hard.
Yeah,
That's
it's not-
interesting. And I know there's some spots. My one stand that I put in, I'm trying to think now. My 4x4 posts that I put down because I secured my stands,
Yeah.
I dug them things down 18 inches. So, and
You
and
know,
I didn't
clay.
hit clay. Yeah.
Wow, I'm jealous. How nice would that be?
Oh,
It's a good point. Is how specifically local beekeeping is. Just for me and Brian, you're a a little over 2 hour drive
yeah.
northeast, and not a big deal. I've got a buddy who's got colonies in Paynesville, and a little bit further north of you, even yet, up near Cortland, and it's so many things are different: weather patterns, soil types. I think that's kind of something that a lot of folks are just getting started probably can't fully appreciate until they gain a little bit of experience or network with folks, how different some of the things are, especially with the different types of forest and woodlands and pastures and prairies and types of farming and soil types, and it just goes on. It really does make a big deal, and I don't wonder if we were talking about treatment free earlier. I really do want to take a video about treatment free and these dead bees again, because it's never happening again. And this was just luckily only 20, 30 colonies, but there are some people and there are some parts of the country that it may actually work for them. And I don't wonder, I'm sure a lot of folks talk about genetics and it has a lot to do with it, but I don't wonder if there's more nuance to that, if there are more things that are biological or environmental in those areas where the pressures, the diseases maybe are a little bit different, and maybe it doesn't quite affect the honeybees as bad. But it seems like in at least this part of Ohio, hive beetles and mites can be absolutely devastating.
So here's a good question too, right here. Wax moths have eaten up my frames in storage and they tear up my swarm traps. How do you control wax moths? What do y'all do for that?
I don't have wax moths, so
you don't have wax moths?
No, very, 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 very rarely. I can leave boxes with no bees in them out, and I don't get a lot of
even
wet.
the summertime. You don't have that?
No.
How about you, Brian? Any issues?
I have a building, and I call it my bee building, whatever. I built a rack that is basically one buys, and all of my drawn out frames, and like if I pull frames that have, partially capped over where there's, pollen in them or whatever, they're in open air. Now it does get some sun. So that was the key when I built that. I wanted to build that rack so that it got some sunlight, so that way it kind of deterred some of those pests. But I think I've got
So,
150 frames sitting right in the open air.
Bruce, do you have
so I will tell you that yes, the answer is yeah. If it's a pest, I think we've got it. So if you ever ask, no need to even ask because it's true. So, but this is right here is what I use. I use a Paramoth crystal. I
Okay.
don't use the name brand Paramoth, but I do use it's the exact same thing you can buy it at Walmart. It's called ice crystals. And but I will tell you this, there's a guy I think I've talked a little bit about him on some of these lives up in about 140 miles north of here. Supposedly he's the biggest, commercial beekeeper here in Alabama, I think, just up north of Auburn up there. And, he just he wraps them, he puts them on pallets. Now he's a commercial guy, so he's got like a couple thousand hives, 2,000 hives, and he's been up to 2,000 plus. So he wraps them, he stacks the boxes up on pallets. I think he stacks them 6 deep. Then he wraps plastic around them to hold them in place. Then he leaves the bottom open and the top open. He stacks the pallets up like that. And he says he doesn't have any issues at all with wax moths. But I mean, I know he knows what he's talking about, but if you stack your boxes, and I think Rob talks about just leaving the lids off outside, or leaving the lids off and putting them outside. And I know that Mike Berry, you see his stacked up in his videos. If wax moths hate light and they don't like to be, hey, we'll see Yappy. Looks like Yappy's going to get off of here, but you see, they don't like light and they don't like air to be circulating through the boxes. So if you can figure out a way to create a little draft or make sure there's light in there, I think it keeps them out.
I just turn my boxes sideways. If it's a dead out,
yeah,
I just turn it on its side on the stand, or I'll stack them up like that so it's got light
that'll
and
work.
breeze.
But I just got to stack mine up. I don't have a situation where I don't have a barn where I can't wrap them all in plastic and stack them up on pallets. And I can't, I've just got too many. And anyway, it's just, that's what I've used. It's worked pretty well for me in the past, but and somebody mentioned mold. I think, you did right there, Brian, you mentioned mold. The bees will take care of the mold though. I mean, you stick them in there and instantly the bees have that stuff cleaned out. So I don't worry too much about that. I'm probably going to have an issue with that this year because when I stacked my honey boxes up, it was raining and I had to get them. I don't know. It's just always something. So anyway,
being local, and is it Ron's Slanska? No hive beetles here at my yard in north central Ohio. So Ron's probably an hour and 10 minutes northwest of me. It's amazing how different these kind of things.
Yeah.
Matt and Sarah has a question there, Bruce. Probably thank them again. They do a tremendous job.
Amazing job.
Keeping all the things at bay and keeping things clean. I just want to say thanks. That's a lot of work that they do for the StreamYards, and it goes noticed. They've got a question there, Bruce.
Is this it right here? That one?
That's it.
Okay.
What do you think, Bruce?
I did all of it. I'll tell you, my first year with queens, I think I've told this story before, but maybe somebody on here have not heard it, is that my initial year, I ended up start off with 2, then I bought 2 more. So I have 4, and then I split and ended up with 6 going through that first winter. I don't remember if it was the first year or the second that I started thinking that I couldn't find my queens or whatever. And I got really concerned. And so I was going to my mentor and buying a queen, like it seemed like every week or 2, just buying a mated queen and sticking them in the hives. He said, Bruce, you need to just give it a couple of weeks. And if you still don't have a queen, come back and talk to me. And I'm like, no, I don't have a queen. And so I put all these queens in there. And what I think was happening is there were probably virgin queens in there, just murdering my mated queens I was putting in there. The next year, after spending all that money on who knows how many queens, I actually just did what he said. And now if I go in a colony, I don't see a queen, like during the regular part of the year, I pretty much just wait a couple of weeks, and almost every time they're either swarmed or they're superseding that queen. And you'll see that milk brood in there pretty quick. But what I just did a little bit of everything, Matt and Sarah. I've just tried everything. I still do. I kind of do a little bit of all of it. Now I'm getting more into a system where I'm dropping queen cells in there, or mated queens typically. The walk-away splits, I've had some that were super strong, and I've had some that just kind of fizzled out with those emergency cells. I've done a lot of walk-away splits. I also sometimes, if you're going through your colonies in the spring and you're seeing swarm cells on there, you can yank a couple frame with some swarm cells and some bees and stick it in there. And, those are probably going to be pretty good cells typically if their bees are, swarming or whatever. So you can split them down that way and those turn into really nice queens sometimes. And so I've done a little bit of all of it.
Brian, what about you?
I'm a backyard person.
Yeah, but you had some experience this year with thinking you might need a queen, and you
I
some
did.
adjustments.
I did. And, the only thing I can add is I did find out that going into the third week of September in Northeast Ohio, and Greg's laughing because I was texting him saying, I might need to pop down and get 2 queens. And, when I kind of spoke to him, I spoke to another buddy of mine, and they were like, just combine over your resource hive that you have. I mean, that's the whole purpose of it. I kept that resource hive, for the purpose of having those extra queens and, I mean, just the extra bees. And I combined them over to 2 hives that I thought did not have queens. And I think it was going into the third week of September, and checked it a couple days later. And I looked and I thought, oh my God, they killed my queens that I put in. But I mean, there were virgins in there, and those queens basically were in the process. I just missed it and did not catch the virgin queens. And they, just like I combined over these hives, and I basically, for those 2 queens, I said, here, I'm going to sentence you to death, but for me, it was a learning experience because I now know that even that late in September, if now this is if the weather and everything, if all those factors are good, I know that those hives in Northeast Ohio have the potential to requeen themselves. So I learned this year.
I think anytime, Tim says swarm cells, and I agree. Now, Tim, I actually bought some queens from him that year. I had that big mega hive, and his queens, he doesn't sell them much. I don't think. I haven't been able to get a hold of any since. But those queens that I got from him, first of all, I ordered them, and then I had several of I ordered 5, and 3 of the colonies that I was going to put them in were like slimed out with hive beetles when I went to put them in there. So I just emergency tried to stick them somewhere, but I think I had 2 or 3 of those that survived. The other 2 were my fault. It was my fault 100%. But those 2 or 3 that survived, they grew up into great big huge colonies. So Tim, I would love to have more of your queens one of these days. Just let me know if you ever get any. But I'm willing to pay for those jokers because they were really good. And Tim, I don't know that he treats for mites, and so his bees are pretty hygienic and they're really good. They're really good, strong bees. And I can't say he doesn't advertise a lot, and he does things a little different, and people jump on him. But I'm telling you, the proof is in the pudding, man. I mean, his hives are 9, 10, 11 boxes deep, and he gets hundreds of pounds off of every hive. And so what can you say about that? I think, Greg, I was just thinking about this earlier. We were talking a little bit about, you used the word treatment free. It would be interesting sometime if you did if you go down, I know you travel some and do some podcasts, maybe went down to the Texas area and kind of talk to some of those people down there about what they're doing. I think that would be really interesting for people to see the work that's involved with it, for them to develop that, because it's not something, as a new beekeeper, you can't just, I don't think most new beekeepers can just go out there and become treatment free immediately. Although I think most of us go through a phase where we want to be treatment free, but I think there is a process that you have to develop. It's just a lot of work. You have to actually work on breeding. You have to really work on it and develop that skill. You can't just do that initially. And so I think that'd be interesting someday if you get a chance to get down to the Texas area and talk to some of those Texas tough people that raise Texas tough bees. That would be kind of interesting to do.
We're trying to do another. I'll be down, of course, in Tennessee, and then later on in January I'll be down in Florida. And what I'd like to do is to be able to shoot across the Gulf and over into Texas and pick up a bunch of interviews with folks, just for that, because there's so much nuance to that, to where there are folks that, especially out in the Santa Fe area, that are known for producing those kind of queens. The problem is it's hard to replicate the same results if you take those same genetics in different parts of the country. And I'm
I
not
think you're
arguing one
right.
way or the other about it. It's interesting that a little bit of diversity can really throw a wrench into replicating results over and over and over again. But it's a pretty interesting concept though. When you think about folks, doesn't matter if you have one hive or 100. There is something to be said about the ability to make queens in your own yard. Um, I think I'm going to get on a soapbox here, Bruce, and you probably don't want to go on this long, but I'll just say that I think everyone ought to have a couple colonies in their yard that's a great quality queen, and I really like to crowd them out and push them and let them put on those swarm cells, because those are some of the finest queens you will ever make when the bees do all the work, and when you're playing to that instinct. Now, of course, if it's the very first of spring, and they're trying to bust out of the box, and it doesn't look like they really need to do that, well, that's probably not one you want to do that on. But I think there's something to be said about trying to make your own queens and not being afraid to take a little bit of risk. Sometimes you might need to start with some genetics that you want to help perpetuate in a yard, but you'll never be without a queen, and you'll never have to try to call a guy and get queens in September if you've got a box that's just ready and you're just pushing them, and you just kind of let them, just babysit them a little bit. If you babysit one or two
Mhm.
hives and just keep them on that verge where they've got the cells, it is such an amazing resource to know that you can just
Mhm.
either cut the cell out, or drop that frame in. It's a huge resource. But to be fair, I am the absolute worst bee salesperson. I was eating my biscuits and gravy, eating dinner there at Bob Evans when Brian had the queen dilemma there in September, and I told him, Brian, you don't need a queen. Maybe do this instead. And I think that's the thing there. It pays to
Yeah.
have, I think, start with good genetics, but you really ought to focus more on making local queens and learning that process there. But I'll just that answer the question earlier about uh, cells or queens. I think just about every single one of us are bootstrapping it hard to grow a bee yard, and if you can learn to manipulate a colony to where they are putting on those swarm cells, that is an amazing resource to be able to make a lot of splits. And then the question there was the walkaway. Everyone has a different definition of a walkaway split. Some folks, a walkaway split is just that, where you literally pull a queen or make a split, and you just leave them with open larvae, and they start from scratch to make a queen. Um,
Mhm.
I tend to go with not doing that method because I feel like it sets me back 16 days. Where if I have a colony that I'm pushing and let them put the cells on, I can cut that cell out, make the split, drop the cell, and they could be within a day or two of a new queen hatching. It's at least in Ohio, where we have a very short window. It seems to
Mhm.
really help keep everybody queen right and keep the eggs pumping. But
Yeah, I do my walkaway splits I've done. It's good to do them early if you're going to do them, so they have plenty of time because it really sets the colony back.
big
You're
time.
just take because they're basically, if you think about it, you do a walkaway split. Like I may take, just say I have, and I'm just going to use an example. I did a video on this a few years ago, and there's all kinds of ways to do it, but I had 3 nukes, 5 frame nukes stacked up on top of each other. Lots of brood in there, just super strong, healthy colony. It was basically like a deep and a half of 15 frames. And so I took the 3 boxes off, didn't worry about finding the queen, made sure there were eggs in each of those and brood in each of those boxes and plenty of bees. I took 2 of the colonies away from that spot and took them to a different location. Had no idea where the queen was, didn't worry about it. And then the other 2, I found the one that had the queen in it because it didn't skip a beat. It just kept laying and she kept growing, and the other 2 that made new queens and did fine. But that's to me a definition of walkaway split. But you don't want to do that in August,
Right.
because it really, if you think about it, that egg has to develop a queen cell, an emergency queen, and then she has to emerge and mate. And you're looking at probably being set back 3 to 4, if not basically a month, really,
Month.
honestly, before that hive begins to gain its strength back. And then it has to regain its strength because the population goes down. So it's really, it's they're I think they work, but you got to be careful. You can't
We don't
you just
have
gotta,
anything over here, that's for
yeah,
sure.
you can't do that late in the season. You gotta kind of do it early when there's plenty of time for them to build back up. And there needs to be a good flow on to make sure they got proper nutrition. There's got to be plenty of drones around, and it's a good idea to check that thing in a couple of days and just make sure they're starting to build those cells out, because you could tell right away which one's got the queen in it, because there'll be cells in the other two. So but it's getting a little bit late. I want to kind of start to shut this thing down. We really appreciate everyone coming on here, but I wanted to, I was going to be on here 30 to 45 minutes and just say, hey, I'm going to the Hive Life Conference, and let you guys do the same thing, and acknowledge once again, Brian hit 2,000 subscribers. That's pretty cool. And that's a big milestone. But just for those who may not be content creators, just a little bit about how YouTube works is subscriber count is important, but even more important, I believe, is view time / number of views is important, but view time. So for those of us out here trying to, we look at a lot of analytics and stuff, or at least I do, and YouTube is looking at that. They want to see how long people stay on the platform when they're watching your channel, and kind of the stuff. They just watch everything you're doing, and it's interesting. And so I'd encourage, as you watch our videos, to just kind of, I've noticed I kind of quit asking for subscribers. I feel like if my content's good enough, people will subscribe. And so I do ask that you like the video, because I think that helps push it out to more people. And I think that Brian and Greg would appreciate that as well. But, I've watched Brian's some of his recent videos. His most recent video was a really good video where he goes out and he actually discovered a dead out, and he talks about that a little bit and how realistic that is. And then a couple of Greg's videos I've watched top front to back, just some some interviews that he's done that are just absolutely phenomenal. He is driving around the country and meeting with people that are just phenomenal people, not just beekeepers. I mean, they are beekeepers, but they're just great people. And so, and he tells the story of that person, and inspirational stuff, people that it's basically saved their lives, like the Tim guy down in Tennessee. Beekeeping saved his life, and he tells that story. And so I just was intrigued by that, and I texted him and said, hey, I'm going down the rabbit hole. So understand that we do put a lot of work into this, and we each have a very different style. I still haven't figured out what my style is yet, but I'm trying to get there. But hang in there with us and watch the videos, and just if you subscribe, we do appreciate that. But I hope I'm creating content that people really want to see. That's one reason I'm trying to do more of these lives, to get involved with other YouTubers and other beekeepers around, as well as with the audience out there, the viewers, to see what it is you guys want. And so don't hesitate to I've got my email address is on my website, on my YouTube channel. So go to the about section. If you got any questions for me, don't hesitate to ask through my email, or you can find me on Facebook and stuff, on Messenger and stuff. And I know that Greg and Brian are both on there as well. And reach out to us and let us know what you'd like to see, and we'll try to help you out on that. Before we go, though, guys, Greg, I know that you have a booth that you're going to set up at the Hive Life Conference. Tell us a little bit. I know you did this the other night, but tell us a little bit, for those who may not have been on here, what you're going to have available at the booth, just some of your items.
Well, the one of the main focus is we've got a collaboration corner set up where we'll have the cameras, the mics, everything to record the podcasts and videos. And we want folks to stop in and share their story. Like you mentioned, I think it's great that we all have a different perspective when it comes to beekeeping. We all do that a little bit differently and share that in our different ways. And I think that's important. And what we like to do is kind of get into the heart and get into the mind of the beekeeper, and kind of see who the person behind the veil is. And that's kind of where we're kind of led as far as the content, I think, moving forward. So we want folks to kind of stop in and don't be shy, don't be bashful. We also we had a bunch of these little cups made. Can I get? I don't know if I can get it on there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
oh, it's a Hive Life one. I see that.
It's not a bribe, but they're for folks that stop in and see us. We want to pay it forward a little bit, spend a little bit of time with us and have a conversation. We want you to be able to take something home. So Brian and Bruce, be sure to. I know you guys will, but
can I ask a question?
Yep.
Will your table have donuts?
It sounds like Brian's not coming down to Zanesville in the morning, so no apple fritters for Brian, huh? We have to bring this rascal a donut, I guess.
I had to say that.
No donuts. We'll have bucket feeders, feeder plugs, some other beekeeping supplies that helps keep the lights on, helps pay for the hosting, helps us get on the road and pay for the fuel and get out there and meet folks. So If anyone's interested in 1-gallon bucket feeders or plugs or the tools to build your own, come by and see us. We'd be happy to talk to you about that. Be sure to say hi, get in front of a microphone, share with us who you are, and we look forward to sharing those stories with folks. I'm looking forward to seeing Bruce there and Brian. I know Brian's going to be running around with the camera probably, aren't you?
I will, yeah. Those that are wondering, I seem to be Johnny on the spot sometimes with these websites, but this is Greg's website here, Nature's Image Farm. And if you are curious, I'll throw the link in chat, but the bucket feeders that Greg is talking about are right here. Here's the plugs, and then here is the actual feeders. I he gave me one to try out, and I mean the bees used it, so I
Yeah,
can
they'll use
vouch they
them.
do work. So, but yeah, definitely check out Greg's site here. So
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
mhm.
All right, Brian, what you bringing? You bringing anything with you to try and sell, or you just kind of coming to enjoy the time there?
No, I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm just gonna enjoy the time there. I am, and I think for me to go somewhere like this and not bring my GoPro, I think probably people would look at me and ask me if I was feeling okay. So, but
Yeah.
like I said, I definitely want to put together, just for those that aren't able to go. I just want to put together kind of like a little walking around the conference. I know that like when the speakers are going on, we're not able to film those, but I just want to go around and meet the people, and
Yeah.
that's it. So I just want to share with everyone out there that's not able to go, hey, here's how the conference looked, here's how it was set up, here's the vendor tables, here's some of the great beekeepers out there. So, but that's what I'm going to try and put together and share with everybody. So,
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, I think I'm just going to probably bring my brand new iPhone 13 Pro thing here that I did my last video on. And I don't know if I want to bring all the camera and all the fancy stuff. I may just throw it in the car, but I really want to focus on just meeting people.
but
And Greg's going to be doing a lot of that with his table there, his
yeah,
collaboration table. But I just want to walk around and meet folks, and I don't want to have the pressure necessarily of doing a video. But then again, on the back of my mind, I'll be thinking about it. But I just want to get to know
Bruce,
people and listen to the
you got to get one of these little things right here.
yeah. Well, I mean, a cell phone's not. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
that big. I
yeah.
mean, that's
This
pretty. And
smaller,
these jokers are just about like a dang GoPro. I mean, this
yeah,
thing is unbelievable. This new iPhone. So
yeah,
I haven't even begun to scratch the surface to what it can do. But
right.
anyway, I think we probably need to close this out, since I originally thought 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and we are at almost an hour and a half, which is almost double what I expected. But and
Yeah.
we still got 93 people on here, so it's been an awesome live. And just a little peek into the future, guys. My goal is to start doing more of these. That's one reason I've reached out to Brian and Greg to try and get the technology better. This one is markedly better on the sound. I've got these headphones now, so I can actually hear what it sounds like. And I just was frustrated, so I just did some. Greg gave me some recommendations on a mic, and I found one that was a little bit less expensive but comparable to the one that he recommended, and that's the one I purchased. And I think it sounds okay. And there's so many there's such good stuff out there to really improve what you're doing, and that's what I'm trying to do. And so I plan on doing more of these lives. Some of you who may not have YouTube channels, maybe some of you out there who are viewers who would like to just tell your story, I'm sure you could reach out to me or either one of these guys. I know Greg would love to meet with you. And I've just these two guys right here. I didn't know who they really were until like a month ago, and I've just become really good friends with them just in
Mhm.
a month. They're just great fellas. And so, how many people out there are like that I just have no idea who you are? So,
A bunch.
reach out to me, and I'd love to. We could do a live somewhere if you've got a story to tell, or if you've got some good information or good knowledge. There's so many people out there who know so much more than me. I'm still trying to figure it all out, but so yeah, reach out. But I plan on doing, I don't know if I'll be doing one every week, or I'm not really going to be on a schedule with my lives, because as the bees get going crazy, I'm trying to really focus on growing them. And that's the number one focus, is the bees. But I still want to bring you along for the ride. I think these two guys do too as well. And these lives are a lot of fun. It's just fun to interact with people, interact with other beekeepers right here. It's almost like you're sitting around a table, and it's kind of fun. But any words of wisdom, guys, as we close this thing out?
No, the only thing I can say
at
is,
the conference. Go ahead,
Yep.
Brian.
yeah, I'm probably going to say the same thing. If you're down at the conference and you see me walking around, just come up and tap me on the shoulder. So,
Yep.
and
I'm going to probably be wearing, if not this Alabama hat, this beautiful red Alabama hat, one just similar to it. So I won't be hard to see. Cayman will have something on, maybe. I'm not sure if he'll be wearing a hat or not, but usually he wears an Alabama hat when he's wearing a hat. And so I don't know. He's got that Hive Live hat now. He's probably gonna be wearing that thing from here.
Oh, he's
on
going
out,
to
'cause
be sporting all the merch.
he's put so much. Golly, that guy, I can't imagine.
Incredible.
He just must be an Energizer brain that never gets tired, because I get tired doing what I do, and I can't imagine how much work has gone into this. So people are starting to check out. I think it's time for us to check out, guys. I look forward to seeing all of you people who are at the conference come up and talk to us, as we say, and look forward to meeting you, whoever's not there. And if you can't make it this year, maybe we'll be able to meet you next year. All right, that's it, guys. Y'all take care, be safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
take care, everybody.
We'll see you.